traders, it's 49 minutes past 2 p.m. here in Brisbane on Thursday, the 2nd of May, which means it's time for last month's trade cut. So I want to start with the FTSE because the FTSE was a fast trading one. So this one was also in April trade cuts, and we were somewhere around here when I've done the trade cuts video, and I mentioned that I'm still looking for that pullback. I'm still looking for the market to come back into my offense line, which was somewhere around this purple line, so in and around that 77.85. Now, I've also mentioned that I wouldn't mind a pullback in the context of the weekly and down into that 77.50 area. So let's just mark that area through. So this was the high, and as you can see, we pull back beautifully in the context of that weekly. We touched that 77.50 and skedaddled out of there. If we'll take a look at how we pull back though, we can see that from the time that I've done the trade cuts video, we actually pushed higher and then we went lower. So we actually broke the previous higher low. So I was looking for signs that the buyers are ready to come back into the market, and I didn't get that. The bounce off that level, if we'll go back into that area, have a look, we can see we just went down into it. We broke the previous area here. There were a couple of touches, two touches. We broke through it and we just left that area. And I haven't got any pullbacks and a break of a previous line. I was looking for it. I was looking for a similar scenario to the one that I had on the Nasdaq, but this one ran away from me. It got to my knockout area. It passed the knockout area, but it did that without me. Next up is the Swiss Combo Fight card, and that was on the 2nd of April with Dollar Swiss and Cat Swiss. So first of all, let's start with Dollar Swiss. This thing never came back. So when I've done the fight card video, we were somewhere around here, and I had my Fibonacci retracement, and I was looking for a pullback into this black line, the previous level, in and around the 89 level. So first of all, these retracements are no longer valid. So let's take them out. Now, as we can see, we continue to push higher. This area where I identified really for my knockout became support area. We continue to move higher. We pull back into the area and continue higher once again. So this one never even came close to eventuating. It never came back into the level. The other one, Cat Swiss, was a different story. So let's have a look. So on a Cat Swiss, we actually pull back into the offense area. So when I've done the fight card video, we were around here and I was looking for a pullback to test this level from above. So in and around the 65.40 area. Now, the same reason that brought the FTSE back into that 77.50 level and skedaddled out of there, the same geopolitical tension did the same here. So we saw a strengthening of the Swiss franc in reaction to geopolitical tensions, and the market then deemed it to not be so bad, and therefore we saw a recovery of most of these currencies against the Swiss. But what happened here with that push lower, we actually bounced off that level. So my alerts was triggering here as well. And again, if we'll take a look at how we pushed into that level, we can see the very quick recovery. So we sold off into that area and recovered quite quickly. Now, there was an intraday opportunity here. So an area to strike just at the break of this level. So we can see we bounced quite strongly, consolidated, broke above, pulled back, and then touched that area again. But that wasn't part of the fight card. The fight card was looking at a pullback into this level. So once again, we've got that pullback. It went through the point swing, which was here on the green line, and the knockout, which was right here at the pink line, and continued higher, But once again, there was no element to allow for striking as we pull back into that level around my original offense area. So another match that reacted beautifully to the offense area, but I couldn't start striking. There was no high probability reason for me to start the fight at my offense area. Frustrating, but on we go. Next up is the US dollar index, and that was a high time USA fight card from the 15th of April. So we haven't yet pulled back into my offense area. My offense area is sitting between these two green lines with a preference to the lower one. But one thing about this fight is that the way we're pulling back at the moment. So we can see we're forming here a level around the 105, and I'm not loving that scenario. So just to point out, this is my points win area at the moment. So if and when we'll pull back into this area, into the offense line, then this level that we're forming right now could offer resistance. So I might need to adjust my fight plan if and when we will pull back into my offense line and actually reassess if there is a high probability match here. So sometimes we do need to adjust our footing in the ring depending on how the opponents behave, on what they're doing, and sometimes a high probability match, depending on how the pullback look like, turns into a very low probability one. So I'm still keeping an eye on this one. I just don't really like the way we're currently pulling back into my offense area. Next up were a couple of US dollar crosses, and that was the US dollar Rumble fight card from the 22nd of April. So let's start with dollar CAD here. So the offense line in dollar CAD was sitting here around the 136.20 area. We came also close to that level, and I got my alert trigger, and I was getting quite interested in that area. But let's take a look on how we pull back. So if we take a look at this level, we can see it was support over here. It was also resistance on the way up, and then it turned into resistance on the way down. So if we look at the potential turn over here, if I'm looking at where we are when the turn actually happened, so let's just go into that area, we can see that we are pretty close around this turn to that level. So I have to make the assessment. What's the probability that we're going to smash through that level that actually push to a lower low versus what's the probability that we're gonna run through it like it wasn't even there and then keep on going. Now, as it happened, the news scandal over here, so that was Canadian GDP, got the market to break through that level. But we're in the business of probabilities here, and I have to look for the high probabilities. So in this case, this wasn't a high probability setup for me. It was an okay turn. It wasn't a magnificent turn. We can see that we don't have a clear level. We can see that there is no clear line. So for me, this one went to the sideline. I didn't start striking on this opponent. The next one was euro dollar. So let's switch into that. Now, euro dollar, I'm still looking for that pullback into 1.08 level, and it could be again a pullback in the context of the weekly, so pulling back right around here. So far, nothing to do on euro dollar. My alert is still here, and I'm waiting for this one to pull back. Next one is pound versus the US. So on this one, we actually came very, very close to my offense area A. Just to remind you, this light pink or purpley line, that was the first area, and the blue line was the second one. And I wasn't really certain that we'll have it in us to pull back all the way into that area without responding to this one. So I was looking for either a reaction to this line or to this line. And we got very, very close to that area. We can see we actually covered the point swing and reach the knockout before that pullback. It's just that when we got into that area, once again, there wasn't a high probability setup. We just went sideways over here and then started to roll over. An area here to look for a potential setup was just too low. It was too close to that point swing area already. Now let's move into dollar yen, and ain't that an interesting one? So waiting and waiting and waiting for the bank in Japan to intervene. And finally, according to all the whispers in the market, they actually did so. So there is no confirmation of that information yet. But if we look at the size of the candles and if we look at the direction and what happened and the reaction, it does look like intervention. It's also quite interesting that it happened right there at the 160 round number. So potentially this is the new red line area for the Bank of Japan. So my offense area is sitting here at the pink line. I haven't really got into that, but as long as their intervention in this market, I'm keeping out. I am no intention of getting into a fight with a central bank. So let's see what happens. Let's see what is the price range the Bank of Japan is willing to tolerate, because at the end of the day, there's still divergence, and a big one, between where the interest rate for the US is and where the interest rate for Japan is. So that divergence does see a strengthening of the US dollar against the Japanese yen, but as long as they are intervening in the market, I am out of this one. Lastly, we have the Dow Jones index, and that was index box fight card from a couple of days ago, the 29th of April. So this one is still at play. I still like this one. Just to remind you, my offense area sits here at the blue line, which means it's also going to be above this area that the seller so far has control over. So I still like this one, and I'm still looking for my potential strike. So this is it for the trade cuts for the month of April, and hopefully the month of May will produce some more matches and beautiful knockouts. Happy knockouts, everyone. Bye for now.